All right. Scott McBride of American Eagle Outfitters. You are the Chief Security Officer.
Yes, I am,
which is
Bonnie.
a very, very unique title. We'll get to that later. But first, Scott McBride. Tell us about who you are, where you come from, and you don't have to give us the whole story, but just kind of how you got rolling.
Yeah, so I would say that formatively, I grew up in a very small town in Ohio most of my formative years. And, we weren't the poorest in the city, but we weren't anywhere near the top end of that spectrum of economics. And so I got to meet and work with and play sports with a lot of diverse individuals, right? People of color, people with, even lower incomes. And I think that helped form me a little bit. But being the oldest in a family of 5 children and just being that protector of the, siblings and that type of thing, I, put my sights on the military, and I joined the United States Marine Corps while I was in high school on delayed entry. Oh. And I left 20 days after high school graduation. I was on a bus to Parris Island. So wow. I went to Parris Island. I, graduated from Parris Island, got assigned to Camp Lejeune, spent almost 5 years in the Marine Corps in artillery, which is a combat arms military occupational specialty, MOS.
Yeah.
And went overseas, went around the world, saw different places that I've never would have seen from my little town in Ohio. So it's pretty cool. So that's really the basis of who I am with everything that I do, and all the learnings that I received from the Marine Corps. I've brought with me throughout my different careers. I had a couple different jobs after getting out of the Marines. I've tried to attempted a college, went after that for a bit, but then ended up at American Eagle Outfitters over 30 years ago as a side hustle at the beginning that turned into a full-time job, that turned into someone coming to me and saying, we're going to start this new thing. It's called loss prevention, and you'd be really good at it. And I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. I've never heard of this job. I didn't even know it existed. But I trusted the process, and I said, if you believe in me and it's a bigger job, I'll take the responsibility. I'll go after it, and I'll do it. And it just evolved into now 25 years later of doing that role, being the pyramid head for almost 15 of that. It's really grown.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that first, and let's take it back to the Marines in particular. What about that experience do you feel like shaped you? Obviously, for anybody that's ever come across a Marine, Marines are Marines. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the brand, right? And one of the things that I think is important when I see people who are Marine is that they are compelled to carry on the brand. They understand that it is a representation. That's a unique thing. Because even though it's one of those things where you want everybody to kind of be a part of the same thing, it's a very individual thing. So help me understand that dynamic and what you really feel like you got from that Marine experience that transformed you.
Absolutely. So, of all the branches of the military and really of many groups of people that join, groups for whatever reason, the Marine Corps is certainly known to be a very maniacal, protective of the brand, protective of their, their honor and their reputation as, extreme friend, extreme enemy, extreme fighter, extreme partier, extreme, at all levels. So intensity is something that is taught from day one, being intense about and intentional about all your actions and your motivations and your work product. So, and then we actually use that word intentional, and I know that's something that you and Think 3D are all about, is being intentional. But we talk about in combat maneuvers being intentional with your movements. You're not doing anything that's wasting energy, and you are moving in a way that is methodical against where you're trying to accomplish the mission, whatever that mission may be. So I think that intensity is really what is taught from day one. I mean, they come on that bus, and the intensity just gets turned up past 11. They rip the knob off, and it stays that way while you're in. And, it calms down a little bit when you get out into the fleet or out into the actual unit, but the jobs don't. It's, you get some time off is basically what it happens. So I think that's one. The second piece is this concept of every single person on the team is a leader.
Yeah.
And every single person on the team has to understand how to lead.
Yeah.
Because there'll be a time where you are de facto leader because in a combat situation, you don't know who's going to be left after 5-10 minutes, a half hour, 2 hours, end of the day. You may be in charge.
Yeah.
So learning how to motivate people through different methods.
Yeah.
There are different ways to do that. In different situations they work.
Yeah.
And knowing how to apply those tools properly in the situation to accomplish the mission.
Yeah. Just real quick, what's interesting is when we were designing Think 3D, one of the things that we looked at was special forces. And part of the reason is how do you explain mission change, where you can come back, change the mission when so many people don't do well with change. And one of the things that we, really identified was extreme confidence and portable skills. Correct. Is that no matter where you put people, no matter what the scenario, shooters are going to shoot, preachers are going to preach, meds are going to do medicine, communicators are going to communicate. They're portable skills. They apply to anything. So when you talk about things like intensity and intention and leadership and diversity of deployment of leadership, those things are true portable skills that you can really take into anything that you do in life. In fact, everything that you do in life is in some way connected to those things. Have you found that?
100%. So I've squeezed every drop of that concept out in everything that I do. I mean, I'm involved in multiple businesses. I'm involved in founding a nonprofit. I'm involved in the Boy Scouts of America as an adult leader for my son and his friends that are in our unit. I've taken them all over the country. We've done 100-mile, 40-pound backpack trips over 12 days at elevation, at 11,000 feet of elevation in the Rocky Mountains. And just things that are, intense and extreme, but it's because of those leadership skills and that intention of action to go after it, to live life, if we're going to do this, then we're going to go to every high adventure base and we're going to do everything we possibly can do between now and your 18th birthday for my son and his buddies. So it's those types of things, and I've found that to be the way I operate at American Eagle, which I think has been part of my success in being able to grow with an organization and to take on more responsibility for it and to provide a value back to that corporation and the people that work in that corporation.
Let's talk about that for a second, because one of the things that really impressed me about you is that fact. Is that for a person that's so informed by an environment within a command structure, and I find that for some folks that develop their skill set in the military, it's difficult to translate sometimes because gaps in leadership were made up in the fact that you were in the command structure. People just kind of did what you told them to do. To see people transition into an environment where that's not the case, where even though there's an organizational structure, those traditional kind of expectations of get an order, follow order are just absolutely not present.
It doesn't really happen that way.
It doesn't happen that way. So there's a different type of human leadership that has to happen. And the people who can tether those types of principles that come from that kind of command structure in a world where, might be wet behind the ears, fresh out of whatever, stereotypical, new person to the workforce that people might have. And those things have to blend and meld. And the way you've transitioned that, I think, has been really impressive to me. But talk about what goes behind that, the kind of secret sauce behind taking those really big things and applying them to civilian life.
I believe there's probably two concepts that really come to the top of that list when you try to distill all of the things. I'm sure there's hundreds, but these two. One is defining and understanding the mission, whether it's the daily mission, the weekly mission, the quarterly, annual, or the long-term mission of the company, the department, or the squad that you're working in, right? The work group. And that could be cross-functional work group. They don't report to you, leading without authority, that type of thing. But understanding the mission, what are we trying to get done?
Yeah.
How quickly do we have to get it done? and then you move and you make people, you encourage and motivate and provide the environment for them to move and to make that happen, to take action. That's number one. And the second is take care of everybody, because I can't do it alone. I need everybody to pull on the rope the same direction. I need people to be locked in, eyeball to eyeball with what we're understanding we're going to do. Expectations, speed, frequency, severity, like intensity level. Like we all got to come up to this level, right? Just like a team would for a Sunday football game. They got to all come up to the same level, or there's going to be a problem. Somebody's going to miss a block. Somebody's going to drop a pass. Somebody's going to miss an assignment. So I think those two concepts that are, definitely ingrained in the military come out. And if you can find and distill down some of that military training and find those translatable skills, those 2 or 3 or 4 things, you're probably 4 things ahead of the kid that's coming out of college that hasn't had the experience of the military, hasn't been to other countries, hasn't had to deal with people that are, talk about diversity, don't even understand the language, have a complete different ideology, religion, all these things you may not have been exposed to. So having done those things, having been in the sandbox, having, those experiences, that translates back to the worst day at American Eagles, nowhere near the worst day I had when I was in the military. So everything's kind of easy if I put it in perspective, grand perspective. Now, I might be upset, disappointed, frustrated, so forth, but taking care of the team that I'm on, and that's for everybody. Again, back to this concept of every single person on the squad in the group is a leader. We all need to help each other. And I think that as a higher level leader, and I say this a lot, I touch base with my direct reports every week. And my question to them is, what do you need from me? And having a C-level person ask, what do you need from me to do your job better? Every week, 52 times a year or more, I think encourages them that they are empowered, they are quality, their work is worthy, and worthwhile to the organization. And I'm just trying to clear out obstacles and make it smoother and quicker and faster.
They're being developed. They're developing muscle memory. One of the things we talk to people a lot about is that you're developing muscle. These things are exercises because you're developing the muscle to reach for happiness, the muscle to maintain focus, the muscle to learn intentionally. And you talked a lot about intensity, which is a word that people don't necessarily think about when they think about us, but usually it comes in the form of passion, which for us is positive, purposeful intensity. It's saying that I am on fire about my community. I'm on fire about bringing culture to my community, and sans that passion, that drive, that intensity, it is just hard to navigate through all of the things that come at you. But when so many people are under the perception that they're here for a check or they're here to do something else and they're not into the thing that they're doing, what are some of the ramifications of that, particularly when you are in the space of safety, protection across all lines, people, product, profit, the whole nine? How do you manage that piece?
Yeah, so, very much like your analysis of the Special Forces model, they stand out really fast. So someone that is not like in the game, they start to show their cards pretty quickly. So, my philosophy is that, no one comes to work to do a bad job. They don't get a job to do a bad job. They get a job for, yes, economic reasons for sure. But they also get jobs that they, genuinely believe at the beginning that they'd be interested in doing. They don't really go and apply for jobs that they have no interest in. So there's an element of willingness in the very beginning to make things happen. Yeah. So, and if we can create the environment around them that feeds that brings it out, that draws it out, that encourages them to explore that even more. Yes, there's some technical aspects. You got to onboard them. They have to follow the policies.
Right.
They have to do the things right. They have to show up on time, whatever showing up means now, from work from home or remote or hybrid or whatever that is. There's some cost of entry type things. But past that, we get to a place where now the role of the leader is to continue to mentally, emotionally challenge them to want to do more. Yeah. And if I can get a person that comes to work and wants to do more, and I don't even have to say, hey, you should be doing more. Yeah. They're just like, hey, I could probably do more. Can you give me more? Can I do this? I saw that needed done. Could I do that for you? Or could I? Yeah. I mean, how great of an employee, right? How great of a teammate, how great of a department do you have if you have dozens, 60, 70 people doing the same thing like that are always looking for more? Then your job changes as a leader to managing expectations, really getting into the details of, okay, what does that person really need from a development perspective? Yeah. Maybe they need communication skills. Maybe they need to learn a little bit more about the corporate politics structure and how you navigate that, and that all of those things, if you can figure those things out. So what I see sometimes happen in other places and is we just focus on, the boxes have to get checked or this paper has to get stamped and moved to this pile. They're very mechanical, I'm being productive. I'm moving these papers from one side to the other. And yes, that's probably a very important function. Maybe that's the payroll. I'd like them to move the paper over and pay the payroll. But if that's all we focus on is how fast you move the paper or how, accurate that one thing is, and it's not about the person, it's not about that person's true passion that you were talking about, their true motivation for what feeds their soul in some ways, right? If you can find that, and not everybody's real public with it. You got to like peel it back, or you got to kind of find it. And you, as a leader, you need to explore that, and you need to have conversations face-to-face, one-on-one, the best you can. I get that we have hybrids and different remote working things, but I talked last night with you and Tamian about, I've worked in a geographically diverse department for 30 years. I have people all over the world that work for me in my pyramid, and I intentionally find time throughout the year to sit down with them. Whether they come to me or I go to them, or we meet in the middle at a conference or a meeting or something of that nature, but then it's time to actually talk and figure that out. And it's not always 100%. Like some people are very guarded, or they don't tell you the full story, or something more private is going on with them that they may not want to share, because we are a corporation, and sometimes people can't move private information into the corporate world, even though I can help. I'm a little bit older than them. Maybe I've been down some roads that I can help them with. But when people are trusting enough to open up, then we're gonna pave the road for them. For sure, we're gonna give them time off. We're gonna support them. We're gonna figure out ways and mechanisms to help them. Yeah,
I mean, and it's both end, right? Is people being trusting enough, and there's people being trustworthy enough. And when we talk about having that consistency, being able to do that, one of the other things you pointed out when we talk about the matter of motivation, our thing is you can't give people a motivation greater than the one that they came with.
That's right.
They didn't come for you, right? and we also say don't do it for the money, do it for what the money does. And one of the things that I appreciate now as a small business owner that I understood as a member of a Fortune 500, but like really drives home, is that it's hard to pay people for stuff they're not already doing, because, as a business owner, anytime you're adding that additional expense for something you haven't seen yet, you don't know it's going to translate or be there. You can't wind that back once you do that, And so when you have people who are saying, I'll go over that hill, I'll figure that out, that thing, I'll get on that. I see that this is another revenue option for us. Let me expand space there so that we can do those things. Those type of people are so invaluable to a process, particularly, and I don't know if it's the same from a corporate perspective, but I know from a small business perspective, it's like you need people that are willing to do that so that you can open up those additional revenues and things of that nature.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, it's It really is. I mean, we talk about culture, and I know you guys talk about culture a lot, but it is cultural when you do it intentionally over a long period of time to create an environment that is conducive to growth. And one of the ways that I have been able to do this, and this was not my concept, I just grabbed onto it and I just ran with it, but we call it P for P, so pay for performance. So it is the absolute promise that if you help me solve this new problem and take on this additional duty or this special project or this, something different, then I will take care of you. I don't know what that looks like right now. We haven't done the project yet. We don't know the full outcome of the project, and it's not 100% predicated on the success of that project. It's predicated on the success of how well we understood the outcome, being good, bad, or not, or indifferent for the corporation. So, but you can't only do that with the trust that you talk about, right? So if we build the trust where, and I call it, to use some military terms or whatever, I call it pulling people out of the fire. So if I am able to, through my knowledge of their personal situation, my prowess in the political space of the corporation, the confines of the mission set that we have in front of us to accomplish every day, week, month, year, if I see an opportunity to help somebody, save them, pull them out, personally, professionally, or otherwise, they now we gain trust. We gain an ally, even if it's a difference of rank.
Trust you've gone through something with.
Absolutely, yes. It's a shared suffering. It's a shared experience. But when you're able to do that, when you get into a position within a company or in any role in any organization, and you're able to do that for somebody, that's just going to build. And if you can actually articulate it and identify that that's what happened, then you can teach and coach people to do that more. So you're really starting to pay this forward to where we have this whole environment where we call it P for P. We're like, hey, this is a P for P moment. We don't know how this is going to work, but I need this done. Yeah. And I've shared some of those projects with you that we're working on right now. And we've got people drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, we got people coming along with us on this journey, and it's completely mind-blowing because it's a way wild concept.
We tell people, because a lot of people are afraid to drink the Kool-Aid. And what we tell people is like, take the placebo. You know what I mean? Like, drinking the Kool-Aid seems too general for people, but the placebo is powerful, and in many instances can work as effectively as, some medications, because the mind is the most powerful function that we have. You can't really be happy if you don't think you are. Right. And before someone can't do it, they say they can't do it, whether in their mind or out loud. Before they can't, they say they can't. What the mind does in terms of constricting or unlocking what a human or a group of humans is truly capable of is paramount. It is the thing. And so if a person is not choosing to believe, and belief is a choice. If a person is not choosing to believe, and a lot of times we park it under buy-in, and I don't think that's the right thing, because a lot of leaders want buy-it, meaning I can sell you whatever and you're going to take it. Buy-in communicates ownership. And like when you said, when I pull you out the fire, and we call it making deposits, or when I put a deposit in there, I have cachet. And it's not necessarily about quid pro quo, but it's about being intentional of helping you when I can. Right? Because at the end of the day, there's going to be a moment where I can't, but there's a moment going to be where I need help. And if I have not developed relationship, the idea that I could expect somebody to go to bat for me or to do something hard for me is zero.
That's right.
And the fact that people have that expectation based off of position is naive. And that's why I like so much of what you're talking about, because it's still human based. It doesn't mean it can't be tactical. Doesn't mean it can't be strategic. It doesn't mean you can't know what you're doing.
That's right.
It just means that it has to be real because you appreciate how it helps people.
And I think that it comes back to, again, the Special Forces model. So that Special Forces model of changing that mission all the time is whatever the mission's primary function is, that's who's in charge. Doesn't matter what rank the person is on the SEAL team. If it's a demolition mission, we're going to blow up a bridge, we're going to do this, then the demolition guy, he could be, a first class, in the Navy. He's not the captain, he's not the lieutenant, he's not the, officer in charge, but he's in charge of the mission. He's the one calling the shots. He's the one designing the play that they're going to run as a team. And then each other person that has a specialty on that group is going to be assigned their specific area of expertise. And they're going to go run, do that mission. They're going to come back, debrief it, and then they're going to catch another mission in a couple days, right? So I think that really, being in the trenches and actually working with people, take the ranks off, do the work, put people in charge of you sometimes because that's, it's their job. It's their project. Yeah. Tell me what you need from me. I'll help. Yeah. I can help.
And they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. Trust and train and trust, and let them run with it. But, offer that support. I mean, I think so many times that as you get higher up in organizations, sometimes you do get busy. But I think if you're intentional about your calendar and about your investment back into those projects, and you're not just bring it to me when it's finished and I'll kind of bless it, or I'll give you one of these, right? The thumbs up, thumbs down, like Caesar kind of thing on it.
Because you still get to determine what you're busy with.
Correct. Right. You control it. You can control it. So I think if you are intentional about even giving back 30, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, to the project, number one, you're seeing progress in the moment. Yeah. You're able to guide, coach, and bring that project to fruition in the right way. So it's always going to be a thumbs up project. It's always going to be a super great win for the organization when you get it there. Yeah. Even though you didn't run it. And then you humble yourself and you give every single other person credit. Yeah. 100%. Right. And I've even found, ways to find other people in other departments to bring them in, to give them credit, which they deserve, but no one would ever have given them. And even their own leadership in some cases don't recognize them. And I've had them come to me personally and say, thank you so much. I've been in business for 20 years. No one has ever done that for me.
For me, it's one of those things where we all want credit, but I don't want credit for the thing that most people want credit for. I never want credit for the thing. You know what I mean? For me, it's one, if I want credit for anything, it's helping people get encouraged about doing the thing.
That's right.
We did the thing. For me, the part that I only play in things is trying to motivate people beyond whatever they thought they were able to do. And that's what I get my enjoyment out of.
And if I could get credit for, I've built a place where people can be successful. People can accomplish things. People can feed their soul for their, need for recognition, for hard work, for productive work. In the Marine Corps, we use the phrase gung ho, right? Which is worthwhile work together, finding worthwhile work. So giving people worthwhile work in the spirit of gung ho and getting it done. So it's incredible to be able to be, in an organization that's allowed me the opportunity to do that. Some places I've just taken it and no one's ever said don't. Stop me if you don't want me to.
I'm going to go do this work.
I'll almost say sometimes if you don't want me to be successful, just tell me to stop, right?
Right.
No one's ever told me to stop,
and they
right?
Won't.
And they won't because, we're thoughtful, we're respectful of, the organization, the goals of the organization. We're informed as much as we possibly can be about where we're trying to take the company and the staff and the people and, the processes. And we're futuristic and visionary in, what does that look like in the end? Where can we take this to? Paint a picture for everyone of what this should look like at the end. Now, it may take us 5-10 years, 3, whatever it is. But if you can keep that vivid photograph in their head of what the end result will look like, how we will all be successful, the nirvana of whatever that place is that we're going to get to, then they are now on the train, and they're with you, and they're moving, and they're doing their thing, and it's awesome.
I appreciate that about you, because it's never a challenge to give people credit for their accomplishments when your accomplishments are people. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that you can't take sugar out of cookies. So everything that you do and all those things that you provide and all those things that you get, when that person goes off and they do a win, whether it's with you or whatever, you can't take that out of it. The people who have contributed to who I am as a person, the people who have helped me develop my gifts and gave me confidence and put their arm around me and shaped me in any type of way, no matter what I do, they're in there. And they can take pride in anything that I have accomplished, and I try to be thoughtful and considerate about that in terms of how I move in the world to make sure I represent those gifts that people gave me. Before we get out of here, I do want to get into what are some things that are on the horizon for leadership as you see. You all are doing some really cool things over there at American Eagle,
right?
And thinking about different ways to pursue protection. Not even just, asset protection in a more general sense. Most people just think that just means the product, but you guys have broadened that idea, which I love. Also trying to create this family, because this is hard work. It's challenging work.
It is for sure.
And so you need consistency, continuity, so you can't be turning over people all the time.
Right.
You need trust and all of those other type of things, because you are moving as a unit. But as best you can, in terms of keeping people's eyes on the horizon from a leadership perspective, how are you facing some of these challenges, and what are some things that people need to be thinking about and really bolstering in their environments?
So from my perspective, in the retail space, we have a lot of changes in society. Like in the last few years, we've just seen a shift, and we're seeing people that are just more agitated. They're more upsettable. They're more apt to tell you what they're thinking, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. And probably in a very aggressive way when they do it, not just in a normal tone and in a collaborative way, more of a trying to stick it on you kind of way. So and that goes on to even more violent reactions in malls and shopping centers and that type of thing. So probably our biggest challenge, the thing that keeps us up at night the most, is the safety of our associates and our customers. People that are coming into our store that have an expectation to, buy what I call jeans, t-shirts, and underwear in a safe place, and providing that environment. So we're working, in multiple ways to, compress down on problems, both from the bottom up and the top down, by, working with in 100% collaborative way with the mall landlords, with the legislators, with the law enforcement, with our other business partners and other businesses that are neighbors of ours, so that we are a force multiplier in getting a collective group to, go after these things. Some of the techniques that I use inside the organization, though, are literally visualization exercises. Let's paint a picture, almost, and it could be a stick figure drawing or a napkin or something we draw on, but let's design what we want the end result to look like, whatever we want that environment to look like, the solution, how this would work, and then we step backwards through that process to try to figure out all the action items that are needed to build that new place that we want to live in, right? So we're trying to get to a new world order in whatever time period we think we can accomplish it in. And then, so what are all the things? So then every day we are focused on, are we doing the things we need to do to get to that goal? Yeah. And if we're not, we might need to take a step back and restack, because we can't just say it and then not do.
Well, I love hearing you say that, because for some people, the idea of visioning feels too wishy-washy. It doesn't feel tangible enough. And again, I don't think people appreciate the place that the mind or the part that the mind plays in this type of work. And visualizing, being able to not only see the outcome, but to be able to see the behaviors. They're mental reps, and mental reps are effective. Mental reps build memory. They build the mind muscle. And so when you interact with that thing, for you to be able to do it, and this is what we share with people, for your team, just like anything else, particularly in anything like combat, right? In order for you to be able to do something when you are scared, when you are frustrated, when you are under pressure, is to have it drilled in.
That's right. Respond to your training, right?
You got to respond to your training. It's got to be muscle memory. And thinking about what's going to happen, using your mind, using your intention, using your compassion, using your thoughtfulness, all of those things on a regular basis, being put into situations where you're challenged to use those skills so that when the inevitable happens and you're challenged in whatever type of way, hopefully it never rises to the level of combat, but in whatever way that you're engaged, you can rely on your training because you have been developing this muscle, this skill. So when you talk about visioning and the muscle of developing that vision, something that seems like a soft skill, but it's not. How does that play into getting your folks mission ready, getting your folks fully engaged so that you're synced up and getting people plugged into a singular vision? Talk to me about that just a bit.
Yeah, so we discuss it all the time. So it comes up, and so we actually have our mission that we wrote years ago plastered on the wall when you walk in. Right.
Yeah.
You know, very much like Notre Dame has play like a champion over the exit to the locker room, right? And everybody touches the sign on the way out, right? We have that up there and we remind ourselves of it. Like we actually have this running joke where if you're not living up to one of the points of the mission, we kind of rib you a little bit, right? We're like, oh, you know, if global champion is one of the mission sets that we're trying to be. We're trying to be a champion in the global sense, right? Don't just do things in English in the United States when you are a global company and have people in other countries that speak other languages and have different cultures. Be a global champion and think of all people in that. We do this thing with our thumb where we're like global champion, not so much today, right? Dude, you know, and we call each other out. And people will do it to me. If I slip, they'll pull me out, and that's okay, and I'll take it. You know, now if they do a little too much, I might fight back. Wait, okay, I got you. I heard you the first time. Got it. Okay, reset. But I think it's holding people accountable to what we've agreed that the picture of what we want it to look like and feel like and smell like is right. So we said, well, you know, we'll call each other out and say, well, this isn't what we talked about. This isn't what we wanted to get to. This is where we've ended up for numbers of circumstances, whatever that is. How do we dig ourselves out? Or do we need to, you know, do a complete reset on the picture and the vision and where we're going to get to? And my advice there is that, and I use a euphemism, but it's, you know, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need, right? So it is about, in my mind, patience. There is a level of patience where your thoughts, ideas, they may be outstanding, but if your timing is bad, it's a terrible idea. It's never going to fly. It's going to get shot down. You're not going to get the budget. You know, someone's going to get in your way too much, or someone's just going to completely, that has authority in an organization, is going to completely just stonewall you. So patience in having plays in a playbook. And you know, one idea is great, and one idea could be super, really good. But having 30 ideas, and at any time being able to flip through that book, whip out the 29th play, and say, we can run this play, right? This is the one that will work. And having those plays in the playbook, ideas. You know, I heard one time from, and I don't even know who it was, but they said, better to write a story on a piece of paper and tear it up and throw it in the garbage than to never create.
Right.
So be a creator. Create your plays, create your visions, create your ideas in a way, and then get other people engaged in them properly so that when the time comes to run that play, everybody knows what the play is. And it's not hard to get them to go because we've had this play for many years, and then some plays never happen. Environmentals, situations, you have to change jobs and go to another company. That play's not going to work in that company, so you have to start over. But, you know, I feel blessed because I've been around so long in one organization. I've seen the mistakes we've made. I've seen the successes that we've had. I've seen the people come and go. If you don't like somebody, you have a hard time working with them, wait 5 minutes. I'll still be here. They may not be. They may move on. But have those plays in the playbook. Be patient for those opportunities to take that shot. But when the time comes, shoot the shot. I also recently heard a piece of information that said when you have a thought, you have 5 seconds to move.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a thought to move, you have 5 seconds to make that move. Anything after 5 seconds is going to make it even harder because your brain is going to talk you out of making the move.
For sure.
So write it down. Write it down, draw a picture, sketch it out on a napkin, get in your phone and type 3 paragraphs about your idea. If you have an idea to do something, get it out onto something physical form so that you now have to deal with it.
Yeah.
You have to delete it. You have to print it. You have to save it. You have
throw
to
it away. Whatever you got to do.
You got to do something with it now. Your brain's not allowed to just send it somewhere else and bury it. So I think there's, I think that's the big key is
For sure.
we do that all the time and we bring it up all the time and we focus on it and we hold each other accountable.
Yeah. I love that. When you talk about running a play, that's a big thing. And I think sometimes even when you're making 30 plays, or at least people might think of it as making 30 plays, sometimes you get 30 plays because you thought about a play 30 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And when you could be in the pursuit of a thing, but when you allow your mind to go different places, you pick up these different things and you could build the scaffolding, you could build the infrastructure so that when you do have to shift that idea one way or another, you have the basis for it because you've really taken time to think about it. I appreciate you so much, man. This is a cool conversation. We're going to have to part 2 this thing. Maybe next time we do it, we'll pick it up and we'll move it to Pittsburgh and we'll get on your side of it.
Awesome. Yes.
And run it back.
We can do that.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Scott McBride of American Eagle Outfitters. Make sure you check them out. Amazing things coming down the path there. That way, make sure you check with us on all of our social medias. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share to make sure that people can get access to this content ASAP as soon as it drops. We appreciate you so much. Until next time.